Moving on to our next topic, this will be our tariffs and trade segment. So this is a huge topic right now. We've seen the president instill tariffs on numerous countries. So, Mr. Federman, we'll go right back to you, but this time, could you talk about Trump's plan? Will he be continuing what he's been doing?
Right. Listen, let's have a little background over here. For years, China has been abusing intellectual property rights. There have been numerous cases where we have proven in court in World Trade Organization that they have been selling products here in this country even below what it cost them to make. And eventually Trump decided we need to take some action, and he picked tariffs as the way to do it, putting tariffs on many Chinese products that come into this country. Specifically, steel will be one of the items. It's estimated that this raises the tariffs that he's putting on these products raises anywhere from $70 to $80 billion this year, much needed revenue to the government. He specifically targets specific industries that might have been victims of unfair competition from foreign companies. Brookings Institute estimated that the tariff on steel appears to have helped create several thousand jobs in the steel industry by making foreign steel more expensive. It means that U.S. Companies can be more competitive. And in addition, tariffs on washing machines appears to have created as many as 1,800 new jobs for people who make appliances here in this country. So he specifically targeted certain industries, the goal being to try and improve employment for people who make these products specifically here, with the cost being these tariffs, but a benefit again from the tariffs, money that's raised to help lower the deficit.
And moving on to the other plan, Dr. Axelrod, right to you.
Okay, thank you very much. President Biden's approach, which is also supported by many economists, almost all economists and most policymakers, is to minimize the amount of tariffs that we're using. Okay, now there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, when we think about tariffs, it may be presented as a tax on foreign goods. It's sort of like the argument being, oh, we're going to punish China for what they're doing. But the reality is they don't pay the tariffs, right? U.S. citizens pay the tariffs. Okay, so it's not like we're getting money from China from it. Okay, we're going to pay it, and then the money becomes revenue for the government, but we're paying it. China's not paying it. Okay, and as Professor Federman was pointing out, we've got about $80 billion potentially that we're going to be paying extra for this. Tariffs tend to lower GDP. Again, the basic economics. It makes goods and services more expensive, and people will tend to buy less of it and tend to have less employment as well. And some estimates talk about as much of a 0.25% drop in long-run GDP, wages dropping by about 0.6%, and maybe about 180,000 fewer jobs as well. Now, those are not huge numbers, but they don't help. Okay. The other thing about tariffs is that while it can make U.S. companies more competitive, we can look at the history of what companies actually did. So if you go back in the 1980s and looked at how we tried to help the U.S. car companies as Japan was becoming more competitive, and what we found was that they didn't take full advantage of moving ahead. They tended to take a more short-run approach of being able to raise prices, but not necessarily have a more competitive product. And that is one of the concerns of using tariffs as a strategy. It takes away some of the competitive edge that our companies need to deal with in an international market. And so again, even if you're going to talk about free market and competition, tariffs make it less competitive.
All right, so some pros and cons from both sides there. There definitely are arguments for Trump's plan there and Biden's plan as well.